What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you are having a fantastic day. If you are new to the channel, my name is Parker Nierenstein, and this is Vehicle Virgins. If you missed yesterday's video, I took my girlfriend for a ride in the new E63 and filmed her reaction. She absolutely loved the car. The reaction was hilarious. If you haven't seen that, make sure to do so. But today's video has nothing to do with Mercedes and everything to do with Ferrari. You see, Ferrari has just came out with their latest and greatest track-focused V8 sports car. Rumors spread far and wide that the track-focused, lighter weight, more powerful version of the 488 GTB was going to be called the 488 GTO. We had the 599 GTB and the 599 GTO, so it does make sense. But just recently, we found out the official name of the new car, and that is the 488 Pista, and it looks pieced off. But before we go over all of the information on the new 488 Pista, I think it's important that we go over the lineage, the cars that led up to this creation. So let's go back in time, shall we? 14 years ago, Ferrari started its special lineup of V8 cars with the Ferrari 360 Challenge Stradale. Improving on the pedestrian Ferrari 360, the Challenge Stradale was 242 pounds lighter. Shifts from the F1 gearbox were 40% faster, and it even had 25 more horsepower. It was also more rare, with only 1,200 units being produced. Ferrari took what they had learned from the Challenge series, we've got the Ferrari Challenge races, and brought components from that, as well as the mantra, "What wins on Sundays sells on Mondays," and created a car for the ultimate driving purist. Somebody that cares more about cars than just having a prancing horse badge. Somebody who wants something truly special, that raw, emotional driving experience that the special series of cars was going to provide. Then came the Ferrari 458 Speciale, one of the greatest cars ever made. Again, the formula was applied. More power, less weight, better aerodynamics, and finer tuned suspension. They created a naturally aspirated 597 horsepower monster. Its compression ratio was a ridiculous 14:1. The exhaust in the back was raised up higher so they could fit a larger underbody rear diffuser for more downforce. Its springs were also 25% stiffer, and they shaved 200 pounds off of the normal 458. It was a brilliant car, and that brings us up to date to Ferrari's latest and greatest offering. The 488 GTB is quite a bit different than the 458 and the 360, namely because it's twin turbocharged. The rest of the cars had been naturally aspirated for quite some time. Because of that, it doesn't sound nearly as good. It's much faster, it's better on gas, but it did lose a bit of the soul that those cars possessed. It was no longer styled by Pininfarina, which meant, well, it wasn't all the best looking. The front of the car has always confused me. It seemed too large and bulbous and cluttered, and the side, well, that really isn't any better. In a world of Huracans and 720Ss, the 488 GTB just didn't really stand out. It is, however, very, very powerful. In the middle of the car is a 3.9 liter twin turbocharged V8 making 660 horsepower and 560 pound-feet of torque. That's good to push the car from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 2.8 seconds and the quarter mile in a blisteringly fast 10.6 seconds at 135 miles an hour, which is very, very impressive for a rear-wheel drive car. And that brings us to the 488 Pista. Funny enough, before Ferrari actually unveiled the car, one of its own employees, this doesn't usually happen. Usually it's a magazine that was under an embargo or somebody totally different, but one of Ferrari's employees accidentally posted full pictures of the 488 Pista, as well as revealing its name on Instagram. Ferrari frantically took the post down and later that day ended up fully revealing the car, even though they had planned on waiting a day longer to do so. That's a little bit embarrassing. But you know what? Everyone makes mistakes. Since then, we have been given almost all of the details on the 488 Pista, the rest of which will be revealed at the Geneva Auto Show, which for the first time ever, I will be attending. I am so excited. The amount of cool supercar reveals that are happening at the Geneva Auto Show this year are absolutely staggering. The name, in typical Ferrari fashion, is a bit obvious. The 812 Superfast, for instance. I imagine it might be super fast. Now we have the 488 Pista. Pista means track in Italian. Don't imagine, is the car good on the track? Well, yes. Yes, it is. Let's start with the engine. While the 488 makes 660 horsepower, a healthy amount, the 488 Pista makes 50 more. That's the biggest increase in power ever in a V8 Special Edition Ferrari, bringing the power total up to 710 horsepower. You know what also has 710 horsepower? The McLaren 720S. Further on in this video, there will be a lot more similarities than just the power. This means it also has significantly more power than the Huracan Performante, although the normal 488 had more power than the Performante anyways. What will be interesting to see is, are these power figures of the twin-turbo car as conservative as McLaren's? Now McLaren, the 720S makes 710 horsepower, but dynos have revealed that the car actually makes 690 horsepower at the wheels. Normally, when manufacturers reveal numbers, they say it at the crank. When tuners talk about numbers, they reveal them at the wheels because it's easy to measure on a dyno. Assuming 15% drivetrain loss, that puts the power of the 720S at slightly more than 800 horsepower. Does the Ferrari also have more than 800 horsepower? Well, we'll have to find out when somebody sticks it on a dyno. I imagine cars that end up in Motor Trend and Car and Driver's tests, as well as Top Gear, those ones might have more than 800 horsepower, knowing Ferrari. Power is up due to components from the 488 Challenge car. We have the same Inconel exhaust manifold, as well as a lightweight crankshaft, a lightweight flywheel, as well as titanium connecting rod. What I do find very odd, however, is if you go on Ferrari's website and check out the horsepower figures, there is an asterisk after it. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, because obviously I'm curious what this asterisk says, it says that the power is rated at 98 octane. Now this is on the US site. In the US, you don't just have normal pumps with 98 octane. In a lot of places it's 93. In California, the highest we really have is 91. So for them to measure it at 98 is a little bit confusing. It almost feels like they're pulling a fast one on us. Does it really make that much power? I guess we'll find out, but it made me curious. So I looked at the power figure on Ferrari's website for the 488 GTB. After that power figure, there is another asterisk. Okay, I'm thinking maybe they always measure the power at 98, but this one is different. If you scroll down and look at the asterisk, it actually says it's measured at 98 RON. Now RON is a different scale than octane is, and when you convert 98 RON to octane, it's somewhere around 93 octane, which is more normal. So did they make a typo on the 488 Pista site, or are they actually measuring it with better, higher octane fuel? I'm not sure, but seems a little bit tricksy to me. Ferrari claims the 488 Pista has the highest specific output of any car in its class, at 185 CV per liter. And while it's true that it makes slightly more power per liter than the 720S, there is a car that I find to be very much in its class that makes more power per liter, and that is the Porsche GT2 RS, which happens to make 186 CV per liter. I guess the GT2 RS isn't considered to be in Ferrari's class, which is interesting considering I bet that the 488 Pista will not be faster around the Nürburgring than the GT2 RS. Only time will tell, however. Like the rest of the Special Series V8 cars, the 488 Pista is lighter than the 488 GTB by a solid 200 pounds. That is a significant reduction in weight. That gives it a dry weight of 2,816 pounds, which is conveniently 13 pounds lighter than a dry McLaren 720S. As you can see, Ferrari was very much targeting the 720S, which right now is the benchmark supercar that is destroying everything out there. It also happens to be 230 pounds lighter than the Huracan Performante. And it has a lot more power, so yeah, I'd say it's winning on the power to weight ratio front against Lamborghini in that case. The lower weight and higher power means its acceleration times are very impressive. Now on Ferrari's website, they claim 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, which is likely conservative, in 2.85 seconds. They also claim 0 to 200 kilometers an hour, or 0 to 124 miles per hour, in 7.6 seconds. Once again, a direct stab at McLaren. What do I mean by that? Well, why would they say 2.85? Why not just 2.8 or 2.9? Well, that's because the McLaren 720S on McLaren's website is listed at 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 2.9 seconds. So slightly faster, and 0 to 200 kilometers an hour in 7.8 seconds. So once again, a tiny bit faster. That being said, these are just the manufacturer claims. Oftentimes people are very conservative, and the 720S has proven itself time and time again that it is faster than its ratings and has gotten a 0 to 200 kilometer an hour time of 7.2 seconds. That is insane. The Pista also has increased downforce as well, 20% more than the 488 GTB. Much of this is due to the F1 inspired frontal S-duct. If you look at the frontal diffuser as well as the hood, it's connected in one giant shape like an S. This allows air to flow through the front diffuser and over the hood in an angle optimized for the 488 GTE race car for increased downforce and reduced drag at the same time. The rear spoiler has been increased as well, leading to a cumulative total of 20% more downforce than the GTB. Now, despite having more downforce, the top speed is actually increased from 205 miles an hour to 211. You know what also has a top speed of 211 miles an hour? The McLaren 720S. You know what also has a top speed of 211 miles an hour? The Porsche GT2 RS. As you can see, these cars are fighting for every last millimeter, kilogram, horsepower, top speed, mile per hour number. It's really close. Looks-wise, the Pista is a massive improvement over the 488 GTB. The front end of the GTB was always confusing, bulbous, too large, too round, and finally, it looks menacing like it should. A lot more like the 458 Special, which was one of the best looking cars they've ever created. Now the side is still up in the air whether it looks good or not, but they have improved it a bit by reshaping the side air intake as well as painting it in gloss black instead of body color so it stands out a bit more and flows better with the design language. The rear of the 488 has always been a joy to look at, and the 488 Pista is no different. It will be interesting to see the new Ferrari hit the streets against the Lamborghini, the Porsche, and the 720S. Surely in a straight line, the Ferrari is going to destroy the Performante, but it'll be interesting to see in a race against the GT2 RS and the 720S. I think it might have a little trouble keeping up with the 720 given how underrated its power figure really is. A big thing to remember here is that the 720S isn't a competitor to the 488 Pista. The 720S is the base model in the Super Series. We still have to wait for the LT variant, the higher power, lower weight version. The LT car, that is the competitor to the 488 Pista. So if the 720S in its current form can already compete, and maybe in some categories, we'll have to see, actually beat out the new Ferrari, when the LT comes out, it's gonna be utter destruction for the prancing horse. I cannot wait to see tests head-to-head between the RS, the 720, and the 488 Pista. It is going to be one heck of a battle. One thing's for sure, if you have $400,000 and you know the right people, there has never, ever been a better time to buy a supercar than right now. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. Smash that thumbs up button. Let's hit 10,000 likes on this video. I look forward to seeing you next video. Peace.